find out you can always lose a little more. And then he goes down the road feeling bad. The song is just a killer song. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Clarion Call, and another in my continuing series of Deciphering Dylan. I've done at least 20 of Bob's songs. With the release of the movie Complete Unknown recently, Bob Dylan has been trending all across the world, and a whole new generation has discovered his work. And while admittedly the story of Bob's rise in the 1960s and his early work is fantastic in itself, I actually prefer the later Dylan, probably starting with Blood on the Tracks in 1976, and then right through the 80s, the 90s, up to the present day, his more mature work, as I've grown older, seems to resonate with me the most. And this particular song I'm going to do, Trying to Get to Heaven, came out in the Time Out of Mind album in 1997, which most people say is the great resurgence of Dylan's original talent, where he did spend a few years in the wilderness, his Jesus period, and then appeared to be somewhat lost in the 80s. Although he did turn out some great work in the 80s. Some of my favorite songs, which I've already reacted to, including Brownsville Girl and Tight Connection to My Heart, Clean Cut Kid. He was doing great work, but he wasn't as well known. People had kind of turned off Bob Dylan for a decade or two. When he came out with this album in 97, it won Record of the Year at the Grammys, and everyone knew the King was back. And since that time, he's been putting out some really great work. Now, I talked before about the concept of music of my life, and this is another one that fits into that category. Music that I find so hypnotic that I listen to it over and over again and never get tired of it. Another one with Bob Dylan in that category, a couple of them, Mississippi, which I've also reacted to, Tangled Up in Blues. These are classic songs, and what they all have in common, including Brownsville Girl, is their tales of lost love. And this one, probably more than any, is written from the point of view of a guy kind of at the end of his life, and he's looking back on that one relationship that meant everything to him but didn't work out. Some people can relate to that very strongly, and I'm one of those people. But there's something else about the music that's just hypnotic, and I'll try to point that out as we go through.
The air is getting hotter. There's a rumbling in the sky. I've been wading through the high muddy water, but the heat rising in my eyes. Every day your memory goes dimmer. It doesn't haunt me like it did before. I've been walking through the middle of nowhere, trying to get in before they close the door.
You hear that organ there in the background? To me, that really makes the whole texture of the song. And then when he stops singing, I believe that's still the organ, but it sounds like a violin, doesn't it? There's no violin on this record as far as I can tell, but there is that haunting organ sound, just fills the whole song. So let's look at the lyrics a little bit. The line, of course, that jumps out at me now, every day your memory grows dimmer. It doesn't haunt me like it did before. Yeah, it can take a long, long time to get over a really intense relationship. Years, really. If you ever get over it at all, it can still come back in your memory, but maybe not haunt you quite as much as when it's a fresh wound. And then, of course, every stanza here will end with the same line, trying to get to heaven before they close the door. Obviously, there's a certain similarity to one of Dylan's most famous works, which was in a motion picture, Knocking on Heaven's Door. I don't care for that song as much. To me, this one is much stronger.
When I was in Missouri, they would not let me be. I had to leave there in a hurry. I only saw what they let me see. You broke a heart that loved you. Now you can seal up the book and not write anymore.
again. Another beautiful stanza. You broke a heart that loved you. Now you can seal up the book and not write anymore. I've been walking through that lonesome valley, trying to get to heaven before they close the door. It's just heartbreaking. You can relate to that so strongly about a broken heart and how it seems like the end of the world and you're stuck in a lonesome valley. I love all the rock and roll stuff back in the day, Highway 61 and all that fun music, but this is a music that really speaks to me.
People on the platforms waiting for the trains. I can hear their hearts beating like pendulums swinging on chains. When you think that you've lost everything, you find out you can always lose a little more. I'm just going down the road feeling bad, trying to get to heaven before they close the door.
Do you hear the harmonica there? It's a little bit hard to hear because of all the other music, but that's Dylan, of course, doing a little harmonica solo. It seems like with this song, every fourth line of every stanza, fourth and fifth lines, are the killer lines. He sets them up, but then he just drives it home with, when you think you've lost everything, you find out you can always lose a little more. And then he goes down the road feeling bad. The song is just a killer song. When I talk about deciphering Dylan, there's not a lot of deciphering that has to be done with this song. It's not obscure like a lot of his songs. At least to me, it's pretty darn clear what he's talking about. Let's go back and hear a little more of that harmonica, see if you can pick it up. There was just packed. That whole stanza is just beautiful. They tell me everything is going to be all right, but I don't know what all right even means. In other words, he's just so messed up. He doesn't know what's up and down and what's happened to him. And then he has a memory. I was riding in a buggy with Miss Mary Jane, and Miss Mary Jane's got a house in Baltimore. Well, that one resonates extremely well with me because I did know a lady with a house in Baltimore. But Mary Jane was her sister. I'll leave that out there for the few people that might know what I'm talking about. But it's very personal to me. I've been all around the world, boys. Notice his voice. Some people are just driven crazy by Bob's voice. You know, they just don't understand. But it's almost a comical accent that he's putting on here in a very sad context. But he's got that nasal thing that he can do. I just love it. But so many people just hear that nasal voice and just, oh my God, he's terrible, he can't sing. They don't know what they're missing.
Gotta sleep down in the parlor and relive my dreams. I close my eyes and I wonder if everything is as hollow as Some trains don't pull no gamblers, no midnight ramblers like they did before. I've been to Sugar Town, I shook the sugar down. Now I'm trying to get to heaven before they close the door.
And now that I really listen to it, perhaps that instrument that I thought was the organ could in fact be a pedal steel guitar. It does sound like a violin. And at the end there, you had the organ, perhaps a pedal steel, and then Bob back on harmonica. And it's just such a unique combination of sounds, and such a beautiful, beautiful song. Now, getting back to the last stanza, I'm going down in the parlor and relive my dreams. So in other words, he can't sleep. So he's just going to go down and think about. But then he closes his eyes and he wonders if everything is as hollow as it seems. He's got these memories, but it didn't work out. So he's left with this hollow feeling. Did it ever really exist? Was it ever what I thought it was? Or was it just hollow all along? And at the very end, some trains don't pull no gamblers, no midnight ramblers like they did before. He's kind of reminiscing about the good old days back when the trains were pulling gamblers and everyone was having fun and out rambling at midnight. And he said, I've been to Sugar Town. I shook the sugar down. Now, people have different interpretations of that line. I just think Sugar Town probably refers to the sweet part of your life. When the world was your oyster, you were in the full fruit of life and of love. So he shook that sugar down, but now he's looking back. It's kind of funny. I think Dylan was about 56 years old, if I got this right. That seems kind of young to me now, at age 74. But he affects the world weariness of an old man whose life is over and he's only got one more step to go, to get into heaven. Even at 56, you're still kind of young and you still got a lot of life ahead of you. An older man now, it's just more and more relatable. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope maybe some people will be introduced to the later Dylan, which in my book, from 1985 on, really, is the best Dylan. As great as he was bursting onto the scene in the 1960s, what he's done since is even more remarkable.